Hello everyone, Jarrad VK3BL here, and today I'm not having a good day. This is the third time I've tried to record this video, and that doesn't include the introduction mistakes I made in the first 5 attempts. So, today I want to talk about something that every ham radio operator asks themselves in their career, and that is what's better, headphones or speakers? And there's only a black and white answer in two cases. If you are a contester, a set of headphones with a boom mic is the only choice. A set of headphones, a good articulate set of headphones, will help your brain, your ASP, analog signal processing, pull out stations from the noise that no amount of digital filtering, even something like a 7610, will ever do. They're your best friend. But they're not always that comfortable. So they're for contesters, they're for those 24 hours where you're trying to rack up the points. They're not for everyday use. On the other hand, if you're that ham radio operator that you see in those 1960s posters who's sitting at his desk holding his microphone and the XYL is bringing in a plate of tea and cookies and he's participating on his 80-metre nightly net, you know, the photos we all share as a bit of satire, then speakers are the way to go. If you're only ever going to participate on nets where everyone's 40/9 running linears full bore or maybe a bit more, speakers, nothing more pleasant. But for most of us, we're somewhere in between. I personally like to chase a bit of DX. I had a great time working Baker Island, I think it was about a week ago now. And I can tell you right now, even with my setup, with a nice, you know, quality ham radio speaker and all the DSP in the 7610, for working them CW, I had it turned off and I was using a set of these headphones. And it was as simple as that. I couldn't match it. So I'll start with headphones first. Not all headphones are created equally. Now, everyone will have a set of earbuds. And depending on how interested you are in music, you may or may not know much about how earbuds sound. But generally speaking, and these are a good brand of earbuds. They're Sennheisers, which is a nice German manufacturer. They're blue and white because they were a sponsored or a collaboration with Adidas. Don't know why Adidas thought that was a good idea, but they did. And I got them on run out sale. And, you know, they sound all right. They sit in your ears. You can wear them to work. If you're running your iPhone at half volume, they've got, you know, sort of accentuated bass. The treble doesn't break up too much. They're good for listening to music. But when you're trying to pull someone out of the noise, the last thing you want is boomy bass, and the last thing you want is the higher voice frequencies getting a bit all mixed in together. So don't even think that the pair of earbuds you got with your iPhone or your Samsung or found on the ground or got from an airline, don't think that they suffice for ham radio operation. Even if you paid $100 for some nice Sonys or something like that, you know, the rocking armature ones, these are not ham radio headphones. Get rid of them. That won't hurt them, they're good headphones. That also goes for these sort of guys. Now, these are Marley headphones. You know, Bob Marley, someone decided to use his name to make some headphones, and they thought, well, you know, what is Bob Marley, the weed smoking hippie, what kind of headphones would he have with his hip hop music? And they thought, oh, we'll have a nice hemp head rail. He'll have it all made out of milled aluminium because it's recyclable. He'll use real wood on them. I don't know what you call these things, but the pads that go up against your ear, will make them out of leather because that's all natural. And look, they're beautiful. I mean, they're a really nice looking pair of headphones, but what's Bob Marley famous for? He's famous for not hip hop, but you know, oh, I can't even remember the name of the music now, but you know what I mean. Reggae music, you know, quite heavy bass chords, those sort of things. And the fact of the matter is, these are very bass heavy and they're very muddy. Now, any ham radio operator who's been around a while will tell you that there is no intelligibility in really muddy bass. And I can tell you right now, they didn't put much effort into getting the highs articulate either. These are fine for listening to a recording Bob Marley made in the 60s or whatever, on old single track reel to reel, you know, maybe, you know, where there isn't much definition to begin with. Go for it, you know. They look cool. People, you know, you might look cool on the street. the audio guy at work will say, hey, they're special, oh, look at the wood, but not a ham radio headphone. Not going to throw them away because I got them once again on a run out clearance, but they are a beautiful looking headphone, but they're not a ham radio headphone. What you want is a studio headphone, a headphone that's designed to reproduce every frequency as articulately as possible as it can. You want tight bass, you don't want boomy bass. You want highs that don't blend together. And you want a headphone that can handle a bit of power so that you can have a high dynamic range. If you've got your band noise up quite a bit and someone comes up on 40 over, you don't want them to clip. And so my standard go-to headphone, and I've had these I think since 2005, is the Sennheiser HD25. Now, these are, if you watch in Australia, if you watch Channel 7, if you watch V8 Supercars, if you watch coverage of, I don't know if it's still on Channel 7, but AFL football, not really my thing, but basically any sporting event in Australia, you will see the broadcasters wearing a set of HD25s. They normally have the version that has the boom mic attached to it. That is actually a different product. You can't just go and upgrade them, unfortunately. I don't have it. But you can get stick-on booms if you wanted to do so. But anyway, the point is, these are a professional headphone made for people who care about hearing the sound exactly as it is. You can use these for mixing down tracks in a recording studio. You can use them for talking to your colleagues in a very loud football match. They'll handle a full watt of power, so they're never going to break up. And they basically, with the way they work, they clamp, they're on-ear headphones, they clamp on quite tight. They've got about 30 decibels of attenuation from the outside world. So they're really, really good at keeping the kids or the XYL or the cat or the fan noise from your full bore linear out of your ears. And they're really, really good at helping you work DX. These guys got me CW contacts that I would not get with a speaker or with any of those consumer audio headphones I just showed you. So the lovely thing about the Sennheiser HD25s, aside from how accurate they are as a headphone, is that every single part is a replaceable extra. You know, the cup comes off. You can buy a new internal speaker. You can buy a new ear pad. These are Valor ones that are slightly worn out. You can get pleather ones. You can get leather ones. You can get new headbands. You can get new cables. And they're not that expensive. I mean, I remember paying in 2006 $300 for these headphones, or $350, I think. Sennheiser, made in Ireland, so they're not a cheap, they're a European-made product. But I can do that with them, and I did that with them. You know, I was young and silly, and I'd go around to the girlfriend's house and take the headphones off, chuck them in the back of the ute, and away I'd go. And they still work to this day, and I have not replaced a single part aside from the ear cups on them. So I can highly recommend them as a lifetime purchase. Now, it just so happens I have another set. These are the follow-ups. They're Sennheiser HD25 2s. There's no audible difference that I can tell. This is, once again, an Adidas collaboration, hence the blue. But it's fundamentally identical to those headphones. And they're just fantastic. You can see these ones are in better condition. I haven't babied them. I haven't kept them in, you know, a headphone bag or on a rack or anything. They're just a well-built, solid headphone. The only downside they have is that they're an on-ear headphone, and that means instead of going around the ear, they sit on the ear. So for someone like me who wears glasses, having them on your ear can actually press quite firmly against your glasses, whatever arm, and it can push it into your head. And so they're not comfortable to wear for an extended period of time. So if you find that on-ear headphones aren't your thing, I would encourage you to check out other reference-grade headphones from manufacturers such as Sennheiser. Don't go down to your local big box audio store and buy your Beats by Dr. Dre or your Bob Marley headphones or any of those other, I mean, I don't know who the rap artists are at the moment, but anything that's made by a rap artist or a reggae artist or a hip hop artist, stay away from it. It's not a ham radio headphone. I cannot emphasize that enough. So I think we've covered headphones. I do recommend those HD25s. They've really come down in price and they're a lifetime purchase. I do not even sweat about doing that. I wouldn't do that to my amplifier, but I can comfortably do that to those headphones and know that in 10 years' time, they are going to work. That's worth something. So, whoops. Sorry about that. You can see I'm getting a little violent today. Um, Going back to speakers. Now, there's several different sort of opinions about speakers and what to go for. Some people are quite happy to buy just your sort of entry level computer speakers. Now they do tend to work. The nice thing about computer speakers, especially the little ones maybe made by Creative and stuff like that, is they're actually used to be driven. They're used to being driven by a non-line input. And the thing you have to remember about a ham radio transceiver is that the speaker output is not a line output. It's a low impedance speaker output. So if you try and plug it directly into something like one of my studio speakers, it won't have enough voltage swing to drive them sufficiently, and you'll very easily run into distortion. It's not good for your radio, it's not good for your signal to noise ratio, and it won't help. So if you don't want to go with a dedicated ham radio speaker because they can be expensive, try a set of computer speakers first. I know a lot of operators who are very happy with computer speakers, and that's because when computers first came out, their actual audio output wasn't a true line output. The original ones did have a line output and a speaker output, but things like your laptop, your iPhone, they're all speaker outputs. So the modern computer speaker made by the likes of Creative is actually used to being driven by a low impedance output. So that's what I'd go for if you had to go for a powered speaker that wasn't made for ham radio. That said, I don't, as a general rule, like computer speakers. If you get the wrong model, you can get RFI into them easily, and they don't offer the same functionality as a ham radio speaker, and they're not made for the same purpose. And that's really, if there's an overall theme to what I'm saying, it's something that what you use must be fit for the purpose. Now, my favorite speaker, and I just got another one recently, is the Yaesu SP2000. Why do I like that speaker? I just like the look of it. To be frank, I just think that is what a prototypical ham radio speaker, if it was to come down from heaven, it should look like that. That's not to say it's the best speaker in the world. I haven't compared it to others. A good friend of mine, Rick Fremantle, a VK4, he's another 7610 owner, and he recently bought two of the SP41s, which are the matching speaker for this. And I believe they would be just as good as the SP2000s, and I can't wait for him to send me a photo of the SP41 sitting either side of his 7100. That's going to look cool. But me, I already had an SP2000, so I got another one. But I'll go over quickly why a ham radio speaker is worth what really is an exaggerated sort of price. And it's quite simple. One, it plugs into the back of your rig, and it's a speaker. It's used to being driven by your rig. And two, they all have built-in bandpass filtering. The better models will have your bandpass filtering. So if you're participating on a net, let's just say everyone's 40 over, everyone's running their linears and maybe a bit more, and you're all having fun, you're loving your net, it's your Friday afternoon or whatever, your Friday afternoon or Saturday morning, that sort of time. Everyone's great signals, broadcast quality. But then some guy who's just recently been DXing comes on, and he's got his audio set to narrow, and he's got his highs jacked up 20 dB, and it's his turn in the net, and all of a sudden, it's just killing your ears, man. The screeching, the high pitch, and what do? You reach over to your ham radio speaker, and you go click, and all of a sudden, you gently roll off his highs. The beautiful thing about the bandpass filtering, the low cut and the high cut in a ham radio speaker, is they're analog and they're basically 6 dB an octave. So even though it may seem quite brutal if you read the numbers, and I'll give you an example, the high cut on this goes from 2.0 to 2.4 to 1 to 6, and the low cut goes from 100 to 300. Even though it might seem quite brutal, because it's 6 dB an octave, it isn't that brutal. It's actually quite a nice, soft, shallow filter. So I find that, you know, when I am participating in a rag chew, when someone comes on and I don't like their audio, rather than mucking around with all the settings on my rig, just to have to dig into menus the minute they hand it back over to the net controller, I can simply reach up and turn a knob. And that's another thing which makes these speakers more suitable than, say, my studio monitors. My studio monitors are probably more articulate than those Yaesu speakers. But if I wanted to, but no one makes a nice bandpass communications audio filter for studio monitors. Why would they? They're made for making music. If I wanted to have this functionality, I would need 2 EQs. And to me, that kind of, one, I'd have to have an impedance matcher in here to match the low impedance drive to high impedance line input. I'll then have to feed it into an EQ, and then I'd have to feed it into my studio monitors. And when that guy came on with the really high-pitched DX audio, I'd have to go and slide down about 20 sliders. It's a pain in the butt. And all of those things combined to make, you know, your $200 ham radio speaker worth having in the shack. Once again, it's a once-off purchase. If you buy one like the SP2000, which is a very classic design, you know, I can't see that aging. It's a nice black, it's square, it's got nice rotary buttons, they're not exaggerated. It sort of fits in with the decorum of the rest of my shack. It's a lifetime purchase. And that's what I'm sort of saying, you know, if you want to set your ham radio shack up for the most enjoyment, you can't just rely on a built-in speaker. You want a good set of reference grade headphones for your DXing and your contesting, and you want a nice, not quite reference grade, but you want a nice communications grade speaker with some nice bandpass filtering, your low cuts and your high cuts. And that's how you get the most out of your hobby. The next question, of course, is what do you do with regards to the microphone? Some people still love using the hand microphone. I quite like the boom microphone. I've got a foot switch for it, or with this lovely ICOM RC28, I've got a tap to talk. Some radios will also have a transmit button. So if you are interested in microphones, check out our video comparing the Heil PR781 to the Heil PR40. Both myself, Jarrad VK3BL, and the other Rate My Radio guy, Ben, VK3HBN, we've both got very, very different voices. We've recorded both our voices into each microphone. We've done it into a studio grade DAC through a radio. We've actually transmitted into the radio, used the RSP to demodulate it, and then recorded it. We didn't use the DAC, my mistake. And you can actually hear what my voice and Ben's voice sounds like through 2 Heil microphones. Why do I recommend the Heils over other microphones? Because the way Heil has designed his dynamic coil, they're very insusceptible to RFI. Now, I have another microphone that I prefer to use for recording audio when I can actually talk properly. And it does sound better than this. But when I use my other microphone, which is, I don't know if you can see it up here, you can, my Procaster, that gets more RFI into it than the Heil does. So once again, it fits into the decorum of the shack. It's a nice black. It's a once-off purchase. If you are interested in a boom microphone, check out that video. So anyway, I hope that wraps up this discussion. I hope it sort of gives you some more information once you've moved past having your first radio, maybe having a handheld, maybe having an amplifier, and you start thinking, what can I do to enjoy the hobby? I hope I've given you some good advice on what type of headphones to choose and when to use them, and what kind of speaker to choose and when to use it. And on that note, I'll say 73. Thanks for watching, and stick around because I'm going to put out another video talking about using 2 speakers in your shack, because the IC7610 can actually drive 2 speakers, and there's quite some interesting findings from that. 73, this is Jarrad VK3BL from Rate My Radio.